Hi, students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe, where we are having some great weather. I hope everybody has had a fantastic start to this week and is having a good Thursday or has had a good Thursday. This is a members chat class, everyone. You do have to be a channel member on our Academic English Help YouTube channel to join the chat, but of course you are welcome to watch. And we have an all chat class for the reading section coming up in about 90 minutes. And there we have our first member joining in for Dobbs, followed by another member, Shang Hyun Sai. Good to see the two of you in class and our other 100 viewers. Again, these materials and strategies, they come from our websites, aehelp.com for the academic version of the IELTS exam, and gieltshelp.com for the general. So make sure you are on the correct website. Lots more members joining in now. That's fantastic. Those websites, they look like this. This is the general with the green background. Click that red button to join. And for the academic, it's this blue background. Click that red button to join. Again, for the academic, you can also get these materials with our linked application from your Apple or Android Play stores. Just look for Academic IELTS Help app and look for this logo. Danish, it's only been 4 days, but yes, I missed all of you as well. Hi, Casey. All right. So, again, get our courses, learn from some of the best materials online available in the world to increase those band scores. For questions, send me an email, Adrian, ADRIAN, at aehelp.com. Hi, Chantal. Good to see you in class. Students, here is our schedule for the week. I posted this on the channel comment board also. Today, speaking part 2, we will look at an interesting question, followed by reading for everyone. Then tomorrow, we will take a task 1 chart and then a task 2 question. And we'll have a Q&A session for members this week as well, and then we'll finish that task 2 that we start from the day before. Let's look at our speaking section cue card. And I see we have a new member coming in, Deepak Wadhwa. Good to have you on board. Make sure to send me an email to get your perks. Thanks for joining, Deepak. All right, everyone. So this is speaking, so make sure to speak. It's great that you're reading the information on the board, and it's great that you're listening to me as well. However, don't forget to speak. This is a speaking session. Ah, I see, Danish. It's you that's being MIA for 20 days. Quick side bonus question. Anybody know the acronym MIA and what it means? While you answer that, I'll give some info to all of our viewers about the part 2 of the speaking. When you're in the exam for the speaking, there are 3 parts in your interview. Part 2, you get a card that will look like this, just much, much smaller, the size of a business card. And it will have a topic, like talk about a time when you needed to get help, with some questions. You will have 1 minute to read the questions, think about your answer, take a few notes that you will use while you speak, and then give a clear, well-structured, coherent, fluent answer in 2 minutes with complex grammar and rich vocabulary. So that is your goal for the part 2 cue card. Part 2 of the speaking, and I haven't told you this before, members, does have a very big determining factor on your overall band score. Why do you think that is outside of just fluency? So, part two really challenges your fluency. It challenges your ability to speak continuously on one specific topic. Outside of this, it has a very important role for the examiner's evaluation. What do you think that is? So part two evaluates for the examiner more deeply your fluency, but beyond that, what else do you think it helps the examiner to assess? Shanghung says your ability for coherent, complex, and natural language, for being able to answer, explain, and give an example. That's true, Shanghung. Part 1 and Part 3 also allow the examiner to assess those points. Yeah, there you go. Ferdov says it allows the examiner to assess the student's ability to think in English, or to be more specific, Ferdov's, to think critically in English. Yeah, exactly, Ferdov. So again, remember, IELTS is more than just English, meaning grammar and vocabulary. It is also a test of critical, intelligent thinking. Okay? And part 2 in the speaking allows the examiner to assess this at a high level. So part 2 of speaking not only gives the examiner insight into the candidate's fluency, but also their ability to think critically in English, let's put that in a comma, in English, on a specific topic. Absolutely. Yeah. So in this sense, IELTS is a filtering system for universities, for countries, for workplaces, companies, institutions, that also makes sure that they're getting quality individuals into their organizations. It's no wonder, because there's a huge movement of people around the world these days, and so these filters are put in place by organizations to give a guarantee for quality of individuals, and that's just the way it is. Okay, it's unspoken. People don't like to hear that, but it is the truth. All right. Okay, so let's target this cue card here and get into some specific practice. So part 2, talk about a time when you needed to get help. When was it? Where was it? Why did you need help? Who helped you? And what was the end result? You will have 1 to 2 minutes to talk about this topic, and you will have 1 minute to prepare what you are going to say. All right, good. What should I do first? So I flip over this card, and I need to go through a very logical, systematic step kind of structure or organization to have a quality 2-minute response. For Dobbs, again, be very careful to just jump into a situation like a traffic accident. You really want to think about that, right? Flat tire, traffic accidents, sure, that might be a good choice, but is it your best choice? Are you sure you want to stick with that? I really encourage you to consider a step-by-step approach here, especially when you're practicing at home, so that you can do it quickly. So Kesey says the first point is to recognize that this is an event. Yes. So number 1, recognize that you are going to talk about an event. So when you talk about an event, you have to talk about when, where, who, and what else? Yep, Zainab, you're on to step number 2, determining the topic, and we'll get there in a second. So when we're talking about an event, we want to express when it happened specifically, where it happened, the location, who was there, who it happened to, of course, right? That's very important. We want to give as much visual ability as possible. Ferdov says how it happened, and that's correct, Ferdovs. What is it more specifically? When we talk about the how it happened and why it happened, sure, then what are those? So how, what is that more specifically? And then the why is the reason, right? It's the how where students lose points often for lack of information. What is that actually? So when we discuss the how, what kind of information are we looking to include into the context for the listener? It's not background information. It's the activities or the actions. Okay. Remember this one, students. I know I say it every time we talk about an event for part 2, yet still so often I see students talk about an event and really not focus on what happened in this event. So this is where you're using your verbs, your adjective clauses, your descriptors to go into those details. Okay. All right. Roshni, good to see you in class. The correct expression is not my PC get hanged, because that means your PC killed itself. But the expression you're looking for, Roshni, is my PC froze. Froze, okay? Like, when water freezes. So my PC froze, all right? Is the correct expression for the future. All right, so number 1, we recognize it's an event. We think about all of these considerations. Number 2, we think about the topic. And what is the topic here? So what's the topic for this part 2 in our situation, in our part 2 cue card challenge? What are we talking about? To identify the topic correctly, students, what you really want to do is just think about, what are we talking about, right? So Shanghung Tsai says, a time. Sure, I think that's a little bit vague, okay, because we're talking about a little bit more than just a time. But you're right, Shanghung, that is the topic. We are talking about a time. That's the most basic concept of the topic here. Okay. Chantal says services. We're not talking about services in this case, Chantal. It's talk about a time when you needed to get help. So it is about a time. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a time. We're talking about a time when you needed to get help. Yes, Ferdows, that's right. So the specific topic is a time when you needed help. Okay. Now, I wrote you in all uppercase because another grave mistake that many students make is they get a cue card like this and then they talk about a time when people need help. They talk about a time when their cousin needed help. And if you do that, your band score will go because you're off topic. The 2 worst positions to be in during your speaking interview, and by the way, your writing, is to go off topic. Okay, off topic and then off controlling idea. Off topic is the worst, and then off controlling idea. So it's a time when you needed help. Okay, sure. And then the controlling ideas are all of the elements connected to the question. Okay, so that means when was it, where was it, why did you need help? So of course, all of those points that we already thought about when thinking about event, who helped you? So when, where, why, who, it's all covered, okay? And then of course, don't forget this part. What was the end result? Okay, so this is where I always remind students to make sure to count the number of questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, there's actually 5 questions here, not 4, but there's 5 questions here. If you want to get that high band score, you need to answer all 5. Okay, so controlling ideas, all elements of the cue card, the 5 questions. Okay, now you should recognize one other important piece here to get a good band score. What else should you recognize about this cue card? So when you're looking at this carefully and you know, okay, I'm calm, I'm focused, I don't care about the examiner's mood or facial expression or if they're ugly or pretty or I've never seen a person like this before. You're just focused on yourself. It's you, it's the challenge, and you want to get that high band score. You need to recognize one other detail, important detail in Kisi. Shanghung, you are absolutely right. You need to recognize that this is a past event. And when you sign up, very good. And when you recognize that it's a past event, what should you think about when you start to answer? So what kind of grammar should you be using for that high band score here? Okay, so notice that this is a past event. Okay, so don't talk about a time when you might need help or a general situation, but talk about a time that you needed help. So use past tense, past simple, past perfect. Yep. Past continuous, right, or progressive, same thing. Okay. Also, you should think about using, if you really need that high band score, you should think about using present perfect as well. Okay, present perfect is used for past events. Nobody has ever helped me so much in my life to achieve a goal. All right, good. So you're moving through all of these thoughts nice and quick. And then your step 3 is what? So step 1, we recognize it's an event. We have to think about when, where, who, how, why. Step 2, we say, okay, it's a time I needed help. Controlling ideas, fine. It's a past event, so I need to use these different grammar forms. Shang Hung says, think about 3 or 4 cases that would be sufficient for this question, and then choose the easiest one to talk about and also one that is what? So beyond, Shang Hung, just beyond choosing an easy one, what else should you think about? Okay. What else should you think about? You should also think about one that is at least in some ways perhaps unique. Okay, so hopefully it's, yeah, that's right, Shanghung, very good. It's interesting, it's unique. So, that's right, Roshni. So try to choose one that maybe not every other student is using for their answer, right? So think of 3 to 4 plausible responses and choose one that is easy and interesting to talk about. Interesting is not the same as unique, but you get the idea. Okay, so what comes to mind here? Maybe you can think of a real one, so you don't have to, you can use your imagination, but I mean, when we're thinking about a time when we needed help, we should be able to think of some real situations. Most of us, by the time we become adults, experience several situations where we require assistance from others in order to achieve our goals or to come out of a problematic situation. So, what are some common ones that come to mind? Okay, so what would be. Okay, Ferdov says to determine my university major. Okay, absolutely, Ferdovs. Not your future major, Ferdovs, but your major that you will do, right? Shanghung says car broke down. Okay. All right. So determining university major, getting help with car troubles. Okay. Roshni Kunte, very good. Roshni says, how about moving a house? Okay. All right. I think that's a very clever one, Roshni. Aha, Kisi, you're looking into my mind. Yeah. Always think about your present context. Talking about events that happened potentially years ago might be more difficult than talking about very recent events. And a very recent event for many would be preparing for the Ielts exam. Okay? It's quite clever because likely many students would not think about that answer, but it's an extremely good answer, getting help to prepare for your Ielts exam. All right? Absolutely. Okay. Amarjeet thought about that, so needing someone for Ielts practice. Ferdov says to travel or to invest. Sure. Okay. All right. So now when you have a set like this, you don't overdo it. So don't take too much time from your 1 minute for this. So this should be really quick. Okay. To get to the end of point 3 where you have made a decision and you already read, of course, the questions on the card, shouldn't take you more than about 15 to 20 seconds. So you should have about 30 to 40 seconds at least to really just think of some good points for your speaking as well. Okay? So step 1, 2, and 3 should really take you around 20 seconds. If it's a real thinker, maybe 30 seconds, but no more. Okay? Shanghung says getting lost in a foreign country. I'll put that up there as well. All right. So, which one of these do you think is the best choice when you're practicing this at home? Members, when you're practicing this at home, really, really effective practice and really high value practice is to rank order these from number 1 to the last for your response, okay? So before your IELTS, as you get ready for the exam, at this step, rank order the easiest to most difficult. Okay? Then try each one to see if your inference was correct. Now, I suggested this in a previous part 2 practice as well. Did anybody do it? So any of our members, did you try this extra little step here for number 3? So rank ordering this, meaning which one's easiest, then the next, of course, and then going through each one and being like, oh yeah, okay, that was pretty easy to talk about for 2 minutes. Ooh, wow, that was really tough to talk about for 2 minutes. I definitely should be careful to avoid those kinds of situations. Okay. Did any of you try this the last time? I think it was maybe a couple weeks ago where we had a part 2 like this. It was a different category. And I made the same suggestion to rank order and try each one. Okay, Ferdov says, yes, but only in my mind. That's okay, Ferdov, but in all honesty, you should technically do it. And in fact, members, I recommend not only doing it aloud and for real, so not just in your mind, Ferdovs, but actually recording yourself so that if two of them are quite similar, when you listen back, you can still hear that, oh, wait a second, yeah, talking about moving to a new place was way easier than talking about getting help lost in another country. Okay? Shang Hung, even if you can't correct it, that's fine. I mean, you can hand it off to a teacher or trainer, but even if you can't correct it, even if you just get an idea of your performance and which topics are actually easy to talk about and which are more challenging, that can help you to make the correct decision in your exam. Okay, so record each one, listen back, and decide which was truly the best choice. Okay. So here, which one do you think would be the easiest? Determining the university major, getting help with the car broken down, moving to a new house, preparing for the IELTS exam, making travel plans, investing money, or getting lost in a foreign country. Which one of these do you think would be the easiest choice for giving a 2-minute response that could earn you the highest possible band score for your speaking? Which one would you choose as number 1, 2, and 3? So Roshni says probably the Ielts exam, then moving to a new house. Shang Hung Tsai says moving to a new house. Amarjit says preparing for the IELTS exam. Rehan says getting lost, then the IELTS. So notice that a lot of you are definitely choosing IELTS. I would say that's probably number 1. Okay. So I would say that's number 1. Why? Because it's recent. So it's happening close in time. So that you have a lot of information about it in your brain. Okay. I would agree with Roshni that moving to a new house, this would be my inference. I might not be right though. Would be moving to a new house. I would say making travel plans would be number 3. Then determining a university major. Then investing money. Or getting lost in a foreign country. So I would think that these would be the most difficult, simply because they have tricky vocabulary. It's difficult to express thoughts clearly about these 2 points. Directions are very challenging for many students to begin with. So explaining how you got help with directions to actually find the location where you're going might be an exceptionally challenging response. But I could be wrong, okay? So maybe you've invested a lot of time into studying maps, getting directions, finding your way around town. So perhaps for you, it's easy to say, I was 15 blocks away from my destination, heading towards due south rather than due north, when I bumped into a local and asked for some assistance before panicking. So perhaps you do have that vocabulary and you're confident, and that's great. That's why you need to try each one of these to decide. Okay? All right, so let's do preparing for the IELTS exam, and then you can try the other ones at home, spend an hour with it, go through each one, and see which one is true. I would love to see your feedback, and I would love to hear your opinion on which ones you found the easiest and which ones you found more difficult. And you can even send me the recordings amalgamated in one maybe 10-minute recording on these, okay? So now we need to take some notes, of course. So when were you preparing for the IELTS exam? So our choice is the IELTS exam. Okay. So give me some notes, members. Okay, when did you need to do this? So when did you get this help? When did this happen? Okay, so Ferdov says 6 months ago. Yep, that's when it started, right? Where? So where did you get this help? So 6 months ago, you started to seek help to prepare for the IELTS exam. Where did you get it? Zainab says online. Where else, Zainab? Okay, online, of course, is a great place to get help. Shanghung says AE help, sure. Okay, that's us, thank you, sure. YouTube, Kisi, very good. Yep. Okay, Ferdov says at home, in school, tutor, right? So multiple sources. It doesn't have to be just one source of help, right? Okay. Why? So why did you need help? Why did you need help with the IELTS exam? Give me some words that you can throw down into your notes for this one. So why would you need it? Why get help with the IELTS exam? Reasoning is very important. Okay, Ferdov says for education, to pursue education. Okay, now be specific, Ferdov, as specific as possible. Okay, you might be able to make a connection there in the icebreakers in part 1. If the examiner says, you know, do you work or study? And you say, well, I'm studying for this exam so I can pursue my master's in engineering at MIT in the US, then here you can make a connection, right? So as I said at the beginning of this interview, my goal with the IELTS is to gain entrance into my engineering program. Okay. So Kisi says to get over band 7, yeah, using quantitative information is always a good idea to get over band 7. Yeah, sure. It's challenging, right? It's unfamiliar. Okay, so those are some reasons. Okay, all right. Valiant Venture, that's good. Just remember Valiant Venture, that would be your full response. Again, here you just have 1 minute, so you're only writing down a couple of words for each note. Okay, so we have when, where, how. Okay, so how did you get help? Okay, Ferdov says to immigrate. Sure, that could be another reason. Don't mix a lot of different reasons in there. So if it's for school, make sure you stick to school. So how did you get help to pass the IELTS exam? What happened? definitely a couple of notes there. You got to make sure that your mind is spinning quickly. For Dobbs, from tutor will not work because we already have it here. So you have it from a tutor up here. So that's where in this case, or kind of a who. Sheng Hung, yeah, says using editing services to improve writing. Okay, absolutely. Yeah, and we have that, students, and it's not a sales pitch, but Shang Tsung is absolutely right. I'm sometimes amazed at how people are not willing to spend a couple dollars on getting editing feedback when it clearly improves their writing scores very quickly. So editing services and feedback to improve writing. And of course, from that, you can remember that speaking services, right? So speaking correction and feedback. Right? Sure. Okay. Kesey says by joining online classes to learn strategies. Yeah, so that's what you do, right? So joining online classes 2 hours after work to learn strategies. So clearly here, members, a lot of you have great ideas and you're very fluent in your ideas. That gives you a guarantee that you made the correct choice to talk about the IELTS exam for this topic of when you needed to get help, okay? So Zainab says doing homework, doing repetition. Enhancing or actually better to say improving critical and analytic thinking. Working on spelling. So there's lots here that you can do, right? If you think about it in detail. Welcome, new member. Good to have you on board. Make sure to send me an email so I can hook you up with our perks. Okay? So that's great. All right. So that's the how. So we have the when, where, the how, the who. It was you. It was the tutor. Who, you, tutor, Adrian. I'll include myself. Maybe a speaking partner. All right. Then we have one more step that we need to squeeze in to complete our 1 minute preparation time. Step number 5. Okay, this was step number 4. And what is step number 5? It's your last and very important step. So step number 5, what is it? Quite important? Yeah, for Dobbs, that's right, your first sentence. Never forget that, okay? So get your first sentence ready. Again, so many times when I'm doing speaking interviews with students, it's really, really bad to see and very frustrating for me, the examiner, to see students waste the first 15, 20 seconds just going, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. There are many different scenarios where I've needed help in the past. One time where I particularly remember needing help from others was, and it's like, whoa, just that's what you wanted to start. Just start with that. Just start with your next sentence. So you really want that first sentence to be ready and out in the first 5 seconds. So get your first sentence ready so you can say it right away when the examiner states, okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. Okay, so you need that first sentence. So what's your first sentence here? Give me the first sentence. Practice your first sentences. Clean, clear, quick, natural. Okay. Valiant Venture says, a time when I distinctly remember needing help was 6 months ago. Yeah. Keep going, Valiant Venture. That's half your sentence. So Valiant Venture says, a time, and I would even do this a little bit differently, Valiant Venture, because it's 6 months ago, right? So I would probably say a time, a recent time where I distinctly remember needing help from others began 6 months ago. Yeah, and for Dobbs, I love how you stated that first sentence because you kept it really simple. The one danger with what I'm writing here, and I'm following with Valiant Ventures Start, is that it's fairly complex and prone to mistakes. What I like about yours for Dobbs is that it's simple and you're confident that you're not making any mistakes there. So for Dobbs says, I really required help to pass my IELTS exam starting 6 months ago for Dobbs. So the only one slight adjustment that I would make is starting 6 months ago, because here it was a process, right? So it wasn't just a single kind of moment in time, like changing a flat tire on a car, but it's a process of help to pass the IELTS. So one more time for Dobbs, I really required help to pass my IELTS exam starting 6 months ago. That's how I would do it. And then it's fantastic. Shang Hung says, I remember the last time I got help 6 months ago in the IELTS exam in my country, Taiwan. Shang Hung, again, so here you're going to use continuity. So this answer, getting help with the IELTS exam, is really good because you can show your use of past progressive, present perfect, and past perfect in this answer. So Shang Hung, the correct way is, I remember the last time I started seeking help was 6 months ago in order to pass the IELTS exam, period. I would take the in my country, Taiwan out. You can explain how you did that after, okay? So Kesey says 6 months ago, after I paid over $300 to register for the IELTS exam, I knew that I really needed help because of my bad English and the expensive fee. Okay, Kesey, that's good. Yeah. Amarjeet says, I vividly remember last year after completing graduation when I started practicing for the IELTS exam. I knew I needed someone's help. Amarjeet, very good. Okay, nice. Amarjeet, you're improving. I like it. I like how you're improving. Your language is becoming more natural, Amarjeet. Your thinking in English is becoming more English, which is good, Amarjeet. Okay. Chantal says, it was when I started thinking of getting my IELTS certificate 6 months ago that I knew I needed some help. Okay, good, Chantal. That's good. So I'll finish mine. A recent time where I distinctly, when is better? Somebody asked earlier. Definitely have the correct one. And we're talking about a time, so when is better? I can't remember who asked that, but it was a good question. A recent time when I distinctly remember needing help from others began 6 months ago, at which time I registered for this IELTS exam. Sure, and that's your first sentence. Good. All right. What would be my next logical sentence? So I'm ready to start with this. Of course, it happens the way that it should. The examiner says, Adrian, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. And so I start with a recent time when I distinctly remember needing help from others began 6 months ago, at which time I registered for this IELTS exam. So Sheng Hung says, well, you should talk about where and why. Right, which one though first, Sheng Hung? The where or the why? Which one's better to continue with? I agree with you. It's one of those two. Just what order? Why, then where, or where, then why? Ferdov says why. Yeah, so it makes logical sense, right? I needed help. Talk about why you needed help. Zainab, very good. Yeah, you agree with Ferdov's and me as well. I definitely agree that why should go next. Okay, why did I need help? Sure. So give me some sentences, members. Why do I need help? Give me some sentences. Give me some sentences. Okay, I'll start and then I'll add in whatever you're giving me. So since I knew that this exam would have a major impact on my plans to continue my master's studies abroad in biology, I wanted to make sure that I can get over band 7. Okay, so what else? Of course, if you can't think of it right away, then look at your notes, right? So pursue master's degree to get over band 7. It's challenging, it's unfamiliar, so use your notes in your 2 minutes. It's okay to look at your notes. That's why you wrote down your ideas so you can use them. You don't lose points for that. You will gain points for having good information and structure. Okay? So Ferdovs says, as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, I'm planning to pursue my MBA abroad at Columbia University in New York. So I wanted to get help to make sure that I get a good band score. Yeah, absolutely, Ferdov. So that's what you're doing. The same or similar to what I'm doing, okay? So again, since I knew that this exam would have a major impact on my plans to continue my master's studies abroad in biology, I wanted to make sure that I can get over band 7. Absolutely. As I mentioned at the start of this interview. Sure. Also, I had heard that IELTS is quite challenging even for those who have good English. Okay, therefore, I wanted to familiarize myself with the structure, content, and strategies of this exam. Okay. Chantal says, I needed help because firstly, English is not my mother tongue, and I want to further, now that's present tense, Chantal, because you're still wanting to do it, right? You're sitting in the IELTS. So, and I want to further my education in English in a country where IELTS is required for university entrance and immigration. Okay, that's good, Chantal. Okay, one more time. I needed help because, firstly, English is not my mother tongue, and I want to further my education in English in a country where IELTS is required for education and immigration. And Valiant Venture says, and I wanted to know what I was going to face on the IELTS exam. Why, Valiant Venture? So that you can be confident in your answers, right? Okay. Kesey says it is a challenging exam. Some of my friends have tried it over 3 times, but still could not get good band scores. My English skills are worse than theirs. Therefore, I needed help to get over band 7. Okay, Kesey. And then stop there. Forget that was much more difficult for me. Okay? But close, Kesey. Again, check back at the timestamp, 50 minutes. Amarjeet says, I wanted to go to Canada for further study, but my English skills are, or were, yeah, because they're strong now, right, Amarjeet? So I wanted to go to Canada for further study, but my English skill was poor, and 6.5 band is the requirement to get admissions into Canadian colleges. All right, one more. Shang Hung says, I was not familiar with the IELTS exam, and I needed to know about the strategies in order to get a higher score for my master's degree and immigration. Shang Hung, very good. Okay. All right, so I've given a clear reason. I'm rolling along nicely. What should I do next? What should I talk about next? We already talked about it. Hopefully most of you remember. Shang Hung, I believe, was the one who suggested this, just in a little bit of the reverse order. So, yeah, so Kesey, even before action, we want to get into action soon, Kesey, because it's a very important element to discuss in detail. But we certainly should mention where we got help or who helped us, right? So give me a few sentences for that, members. So I sought help from several places. Firstly, I found a good local tutor named Frank, who had been, or who has been, an IELTS trainer for the past 5 years. And secondly, I searched for quality online materials and videos, and eventually stumbled upon aehelp.com website dedicated to helping IELTS students get ready for the exam and pass. Okay, so I'm rolling along nicely here. The where and the who, so Shang Hung, when you say who helps you, and Amarjeet says where, it's one and the same in this case. So the where you're getting help, you're getting it from a school or from a person or from online. Who are you getting it from? You're getting it from a teacher in that school, or you're getting it from an institution online like aehelp.com, right? So again, move through these points fairly quickly, couple of sentences at most, and then go into action, okay? Valiant Venture says, secondly, I joined AE Help channel to find more materials about IELTS structure and strategies. Very good, Valiant Venture. So you're synonymous with what I just wrote here. Absolutely. And that works. Okay, that's great. All right. Again, students, you know, I'm always blessed to have so many wonderful students around the world join our channel, our products, our websites. I strongly always do encourage students to seek physical help as well. So if you have the chance to attend some IELTS classes, then do both, okay? So having physical tutoring help as well as using quality online materials that are tested on a massive scale, combining those are the best. Okay, I often tell students, take our materials and present it to your tutor and say, I'd like to learn from these materials. Can you adapt these in your lessons? And that can be very effective. Okay. Sheng Hung, that's a good question. Should you answer that question, the person who exactly? Yeah, you should, Sheng Hung, absolutely. So the more detail that you can give, the more colorful you make your 2-minute presentation, and the more detailed, the more depth you have, the higher your band score will be. So you should name the person. Yeah, so I think you're referring to Frank. So firstly, I found a good local tutor named Frank. That only takes a fraction of a second. Named Frank, who has been an IELTS trainer for the past 5 years. And secondly, I searched for quality online materials and videos and eventually stumbled upon aehelp.com, a website dedicated to helping IELTS students get ready for the exam. So yeah, you should. Here we name the specific website, right? Absolutely. Thirdly, I started practicing with native speakers so I could become more fluent in English. Okay, so Valiant Venture there, what you're doing is you're going into the how. So now you're going into the action. That's what Kesey suggested, right? Then, together with my tutor, we created a schedule using the study plan suggested on aehelp.com website. Each day I studied for 4 to 5 hours or 5 to 6 hours, and then we continue. Now, members, you're on a roll, and I think you're doing a fantastic job. I want to review what we have so far before I run out of time. And then the challenge is to perhaps complete this, but even more importantly, what I said in step 3. So your big challenge here is try the same with each of these different responses for this cue card question. Record them all and then try to honestly answer for yourself which ones are the easiest, which ones are more difficult, and rank order them. Maybe at home you'll try moving to a new house and you'll realize that, hey, Adrian was out to lunch. Moving to a new house was way easier than talking about this IELTS exam simply because the grammar was easier. Okay, so the only way that you will know that for sure, though, is if you try it. So here we go. Repeat after me. So again, this is speaking. So repeat after me, members. Repeat after me. A recent time when I distinctly remember needing help from others began 6 months ago, at which time I registered for this IELTS exam. Since I knew that this exam would have a major impact on my plans to continue my master's studies abroad in biology, I wanted to make sure that I can get over Band 7, as I hinted at the beginning of this interview. Also, I had heard that IELTS is quite challenging even for those who have good English. Therefore, I wanted to familiarize myself with the structure, content, and strategies of this exam. So I sought help from several places. Firstly, I found a good local tutor named Frank, who has been an IELTS trainer for the past 5 years. And secondly, I searched for quality online materials and videos and eventually stumbled upon aehelp.com, a website dedicated to helping IELTS students get ready to pass the exam. Then, together with the tutor, we created a schedule using the study plan suggested on the website. Each day, I studied for 5 to 6 hours for the reading, listening, writing, and speaking sections. I got feedback on my speaking from my tutor, and I got feedback on my writing mistakes from the professionals at aehelp.com. In the end, I feel that I have greatly improved my English skills, not only my grammar, but also I broadened my vocabulary. And throughout the process, I have improved my critical thinking. Now I feel very prepared for this exam, and I'm truly optimistic to get over band 7. Without this help, I'm not sure if this would be possible. This is what I was thinking of here, students. What was the end result? Okay, so I finished up kind of the speaking part of that. That's all the time I had for this class, members, but thank you so much for your brilliant interactions. You have some really good ideas there, Amarjeet. Sorry I couldn't read that last long comment, but it's looking good. Okay. In 30 minutes, everyone, I will continue with a reading passage, passage 3. It will be challenging also, but very fruitful. So make sure to tune in. If you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Again, download our app, Academic IELTS Help, and join us on our websites, aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. Kesey, I'm super happy you learned tons today. Keep going forward, and all of you will do a great job on your next IELTS exam. I'm sure of it. Bye for now, and see you in 30 minutes.